Good day, learners. I am Gisabel Curambo Ramos, a Best-Ed major in Science 1 student. And for today's video, I am going to discuss the life cycle of a plant. According to Abdul Wahab in Science for Fun, everything that lives on Earth has a life cycle. Life has a beginning point, growth, reproduction, and an end of life. So, what is plant life cycle? Life cycle is a continuous process that describes how a living thing starts its life, grows to maturity, reproduces, and dies. All living things, including plants, have a specific life cycle, which keeps their species alive. The life cycle of plants can be broken into 5 main stages, which are seed, germination and seedling, growing to maturity, flowering, pollinating, and seeding, and lastly, seed dispersion. So now, let's discuss these different stages in the life cycle of a plant in more detail, where it all begins in seed, the first stage. Seeds are much like babies of animals. Seeds contain the embryo of the plants with necessary food and an outer coating for protection. The seeds are dispersed across the land in many ways, such as moving water, wind, animals, and humans. When they fall on the rich soil with the necessary things, such as water and the right temperature, they germinate and start their journey of life. Germination and seedling, the second stage. When the conditions in the soil are just right, the seed germinates. First, it breaks the outer coating and begins growing its first roots and leaves. When the first sign of life from a seed appears out of the soil, it is called a seedling. As soon as the roots and leaves appear, they start their work. Example, roots absorb water and nutrients, and leaves make food by photosynthesis. Growing to maturity, the third stage. The seedling continues to grow until it reaches its full maturity. The plant needs many necessary things during its growth. See how plants grow. When plants become mature, they have to get stronger roots and an increased number of branches and leaves. At this stage, they are ready to make flowers and new seeds. Flowering, pollinating, and seeding, the fourth stage. When plants become mature, they start to make flowers. A flower contains male and female parts. The male part is called a stamen, and the female part is called a pistil. The pollen is produced in the stamen part and needs to reach the pistils for the production of seeds. The pollen usually reaches to pistils by insects that land on flowers for sucking sweet fluids. When the pollen reaches the pistils, it fertilizes the cells inside it and produces the seeds. There are many plants whose male and female parts are separated very far away. In this case, winds and insects play a very important role in pollination. Winds usually carry pollen along with them, which often reach to female parts. On the other hand, insects go from one plant to other for drinking sweet fluids. When they enter a flower, pollen sticks to their bodies and is carried to female parts when they land on that part of the plant. Seed dispersion, the fifth stage. After the production of seeds, the plants need a way to disperse these seeds to favorable places where they can germinate and start their life cycle. Most of the time, nature does the job of dispersion for the plants through winds, moving water, and the animals. But there are also plants whose seeds are surrounded by fibers that help them to glide in the air upon falling from the plant. During their glide, they reach very far distances and start their life away from their parent plants.